distinguished the Doox Men, I think, from the very beginning, thanks to Walt and some others, was a set of arrangements that were signature arrangements. You knew that was from the Doox Men. And I think when Fritz came aboard, that one of the blessings that he brought us was a kind of arranging that other groups didn't have. We really were not a Me Too group musically. And I think that was part of the early tradition of this group, is that it had its own sound and its own attitudes and its own ideas. And Fritz, who brought the world of jazz and between jazz and Bartok, and that's not Bartok, it's B-A-R-T-O-K. It gave for a period of years, again, as Walt did in the beginning, sort of the second wave had a sound that no one else had. And that was, I don't think we were conscious of that. But we sure benefited from it.
That's a good point. Jeff Barrett, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a question. It kind of segues off of that, actually. In terms of characterization of the Doox Men, it seems like just being, we are the youngest out of the big five of the all-male groups. How has that changed? I'm wondering, like, were we always, or usually the ones with the most unique arrangements? Were we the, best singers? I mean, I'll give you my point of view for now. For today, I would say for the 00s, 90s, and beyond, it's become such that Doox Men are really good singers. We get a lot of people into the whiffs usually. It's competitive. It's just like it's always been. But, the BDs will be a traditional frat. The Spizzwinks will rival us, but they might have a bit of a dorkier persona. Without talking about all the other groups, how do you see yourselves now, I guess, as a Doox Men group, and how are we perceived? How have we been perceived in the past?
Anybody want to take that? It's probably different from one place to another.
This is a question of whom? Of the younger groups?
I think he's asking how you perceived yourself vis-a-vis the competition.
Yeah.
Way back when?
Way back in the day, yeah.
Well, I perceived the Doox Men as different, which was great. There was a certain sameness, I'll say, emulating the Whiff and Poofs of the day, and no flies on them. They were really, really good. But the Doox Men, I think, had the courage and the energy and the gall, as Walt says, to do things different. And without any guarantee, frankly, of acceptance. Part of it was for the group's own enjoyment in rehearsals, and we had a hell of a good time in rehearsals. And then we tried out on the marketplace, not knowing whether it would be received or not. Well, almost always, it was very well received. And so we were really breaking ground at that time. And I think it's what put the stamp on the Doox Men that the marketplace saw as innovators, risk takers, enthusiasts, and I'll use the word professional as used earlier, and there are some professionals among our midst, but we were seen, I think, as amateurs in the real world word, the source of the word, love. That's where the word comes from. I'll stop there.
I'd just like to second that. That is the whole issue of love, and not to get too philosophical here, but the notion that music is love, that basically that's what it is, that's what you're doing. You're loving with your voice. It grew on me more and more increasingly as I got older, that this was an early experience of young manhood, about love, doing it together. That was extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. And nowhere else in life could I have gotten it, except really with the Doox Men. And I'd also like to underline character, that is this, I think Linus has expressed it well, that we really had character. This was the only group that I thought, that I ever heard, that had musical character to it. So I just like to underline those two.
I'll just add to the characteristics, our brand of humor. I think in my day we were now finally confident enough that we didn't have to worry about were we as good as Group X or Group Y. Maybe the big two, other than the Doox men in my day, were the Baker's Dozen and the Smithwings, and I respect those guys, but they weren't funny. We were constantly funny.
Even when we weren't trying.
And there was a special brand of kind of whimsical humor that Bullitt picked up when he saw the dust jacket of our record that said, "Group, not pictured, Wesley." A little tiny postage stamp down at the bottom says, "Wesley, pictured." It says, well, if you get, this is a great record, it's fabulous, here's a phony 4th century history of the Doox men. Unless you've gotten Brahms' 4th in here by mistake, see your dealer. So, I'm not very good at this kind of humor. I was kind of a consumer of it, but when you have somebody like David Willis there, coming to rehearsal every day, and John Wesley, bless him, who couldn't be here, he lives in Europe, the whimsical humor of the Doox men made it very different than those other groups. And it was a saving grace a lot of times, A lot of times, it may have been a fun, precious thing we were doing, and it may not have been what a lot of people would call stress, but there were little frictions here and there. They were always relieved by some goofball making a generous joke about it.
Or a gotcha.
We have time for one more question and a short answer. Mark?
When did this idea of love take itself to performing off campus at women's colleges and girls' prep schools?
It's impossible.
Tomorrow. Mark, you missed the first panel. We already answered that. All right, let me say thanks to everybody. All right, we have an hour and 15 minutes to get to the church, so go do what you need to do.